Hi, here we are again with a selection of your questions. I hope I can answer them to your satisfaction. I've certainly worked on them. I've made notes for my answers. So here we go. Let's start today with Mazi Ismail. Mazi bhai, do you think world cricket is moving towards only leagues and World Cups like football? In your opinion, is it really the right approach? Mazi, unlike football, cricket's a bit different. In football, your club is your identity. Your jersey is what you wear with pride. Your club jersey, it's what you are deep down inside. And from time to time, people are plucked out of there to go and play for their country. In cricket, traditionally, you've always played for your country. You've been plugged out to play for you've been pulled out to play for your franchise. But that's increasingly that is what we are seeing. That's happening more and more in our sport these days, and I only foresee that would grow, especially with T20. It's a nice, short, snappy format in today's world of where people want everything to happen very quickly, where time spans are lower, where attention spans are lower. It's a wonderfully packaged thing. So I see that happening more and more, and eventually marketers will give consumers what they want. I mean, consumers thought we didn't want a sedan, we wanted more SUVs. People started making more SUVs. People said we don't want long form content. You started getting reels. TikTok became popular for a while. Instagram comes in quick, snappy, short form content. Clothes started becoming more casual. Manufacturers started making more casual clothing. So the market will give you what you want. And I think it's a question that you must ask yourself. Do I want to see more T20 leagues around? Do I want to see more World Cups? Do I want to see more bilateral cricket? The news is that the ratings for bilateral cricket are dropping unless they are marquee series. We found in India versus England, India versus Australia. India plays in the World Cups. Yes, those are big, but the bilateral ratings are dropping. And eventually, the, cricket is a consumer sport. It's a financial entity. At some level, you will start getting what you want. So yes, I foresee the game moving more and more towards leagues. I foresee the bilateral cricket being under stress. And that's why you have a World Cup every year now, don't you? I'm smiling because of the next question. It comes from Atharva Munde, who says, when is your podcast with Mahi? And what is your favorite memory of his when he used to play for India? Oh, Atharva, how I would love to do a podcast with Mahi, but I don't have a contact number for him. I don't know how to contact him. I don't know whether he'd want to do a podcast with me. So I don't know. What I will tell you is I enjoy those moments. I enjoy those conversations and I'll be very selfish. When I first read that he'd given up the captaincy, I said, I looked at my roster again. I always look at my roster and say, when is Chennai playing? And I hope they win only because I can get to do that conversation with MS. Listen, there are always two or three people in our profession that you want to do a program with, and MS Dhoni is in those two or three people that I would love to have conversations with. So who knows when it'll happen. What's my favorite memory? There've been so many, obviously hitting a six to win the World Cup for India, but both in 2007 and in 2011, when India won the World Cup on both occasions, you didn't see MS around. 2011 was all about Tendulkar. He realized it was his moment. He stayed in the background. Go back and see the footage of 2007. Where do you see Dhoni? That to me is one of my favorite moments. A very secure leader already in 2007 and more so in 2011, aware that history will give him ownership of those moments eventually. So not worried about thrusting himself into the present. That's what I loved about it. Okay, next question is from Dave Dalavai. Hi Harsha, a fellow proud HPS alumni here. Yes, man. What is a memory you cherish from school? One, Dave? So many. That school meant so much to me. Two or three things. I'd say friendship, I'd say lunch. Here's an interesting one. And I'd say backfield as my three predominant memories. The friendships I made are still alive. We still meet. We're still on WhatsApp groups. The food was excellent. I mean, the care with which they made food for 900,000 students was incredible. And the backfield is where so many of my memories come from. Backfield was our school cricket ground. I've parked so many of my memories there. But the overwhelming one, apart from all these three, is teachers. There were so many great teachers that we had who went out of the way to do things for you. There were a lot of very giving teachers. whether it was Mr. Mathai chemistry, whether it was Mr. Chandrasekhar with English and quiz, whether it was Mr. Devdattam on the sports field. There were so many, and I've only mentioned three that were a little more dear to me than the others. And when we were starting out, whether it was Mr. Anwar Hussain, Mrs. Qadar, there were so many teachers who were not only fun but who gave the students so much. Whether it was Mr. Sardar who looked after the mess, whether it was the matrons in the hostel, those are the memories that I hold very, very dear. And the fact that you had to do many different things. Hobbies were compulsory. When I was in 6th standard, puppetry was the hobby I'd been given, or maybe one that I chose. And we all had to take these little puppets, not the marionettes that hung from a string, but these little puppets. And the first day, I remember the song was, I've written it down, yes. The song was Bakad Bum 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 Baje Damaru. So we had to all hide under the table and dance, make the puppets dance. So that was great fun. You had to be in dramatics, you had to speak in public. Sport was mandatory. Attendance was compulsory in sport. You had to play sport. And I think that is what drove me towards cricket and had such a big part in my life. So yeah, I've given a long answer, but the school holds those feelings for me even today. Oh, and yes, the houses. Even today, on our WhatsApp group, we're all past 60. It's been 42 years since a lot of us left school. We're still proud of the house we belong to, and we still make fun. You poor little fellow. You had to be in Nagarjuna all your life, and feel really sorry for Nalanda. You know what? Yes, we were Vijayanagar. So that is still there. That loyalty told us the team feeling was very strong. Okay, interesting one from @livelife876. Don't you think the DRS system affects the value of umpires? Like every other decision being questioned, can't a third umpire take a call immediately in case an umpire makes a wrong decision instead of the power being with the players? That's 2 or 3 questions in one. So I'll start with the first one. I've asked umpires this, and a lot of umpires actually like it. It's like a commentator always loves being on radio when the TV is on, because the better commentators will then get shown up. If there's a DRS system, if there's people watching on television, the better umpires come through, look better. But I think what DRS has done is primarily it has taken away all the allegations of bias and favoritism. Maybe occasional incompetence, but that's something that all of us live with. You live with, I live with also. We go through moments that are ours and others that are not. But incompetence is there, extreme competence is there, but bias has gone. And so often when you lose a big tournament or a game, you often assigned it to the umpires. So with DRS, with the choice for the player of going to the review, that bias has gone. And that's what I like about DRS. Should everything come from the third umpire? Heavens no. As it is, our game's taking longer and longer and longer. If you went with the third umpire for everything, then we'd be pausing more than we'd be playing. And already I think we're stopping far too often. So yes, I like DRS. I like where it is at the moment. You could always tweak it a little bit. That's a debate that's much longer than just an answer. And I'm hoping one day someone will ask me a question on umpire's call. I've always wondered why such a simple thing is so difficult to understand sometimes. It's like music. Everyone else finds it simple. I find it difficult to understand. So maybe it's about that. Gautam Sridhar says, given how fast T20 has evolved, isn't it high time the IPL changed the aggregate runs criterion for the orange cap? As long as strike rates are ignored, only anchors will keep winning it, a role which is now on the brink of irrelevance. Well said, Gautam. I can see that you follow T20. You understand it very well. I don't like the orange cap. I appreciate the fact that someone who scored a lot of runs is a good player. But as you yourself say, as the game evolves, then the number of runs you score must closely align the rate at which you score them. And I think it's now very well known that if you score a lot of runs at a lowest strike rate, you end up losing more games because you're putting pressure on everybody else to score much faster, and you end up scoring a little less. So I like a reward for scoring a lot of runs, but I don't think that it always works towards winning the game for your side. There are many other parameters. I don't know whether we'll ever find one. This year we have an electric striker, but that only rewards people who've played 10 balls or more, and I think that's too short. The runs reward something that may not win you a game. So that's a slightly tricky one. What else did you say? Only anchors will keep winning it, and thankfully anchors are going out of the game. I love the way these new players are playing it, man. So that is fine. Yeah, the maximum number of runs scored is a very good indicator in ODIs. It's a fantastic indicator in Test cricket, but no, I'm not sure it's the best indicator for T20 cricket. My other concern with the orange cap is that 1, 2, 3 will always get enough balls to score the most runs. 4 and 5 very often win you games. It's amazing how often 4 or 5 win you games, but it's absolutely guaranteed that 4 or 5 will never ever win the orange cap. So you're reducing the contest between the top 2 or 3 of every franchise. So it's there, but not my favorite. Right, very long question from Mrutyunjay Jalan. Mrutyunjay, what's next for the IPL now that the WPL has also proven that it can do well? I'm a big fan of the WPL. I'm overjoyed that it's doing well, and just watch out for the talent that will start to come in 2 or 3 years' time. Do we see an under-23 league, a second division, promotion, relegation would add more to the overall excitement? So many great international players on the bench, more foreigners per team. I can see that you're trying to pack as many questions as you want to in one question. We'll go point by point. I'm very happy with the way it is at the moment because there's only that part of the calendar that you can play it in. Remember that there is country versus country, there's franchise versus franchise, there's Test cricket, there's ODI cricket, there's T20 cricket. There used to be a time when there was no cricket going on, everyone rested. That phase is gone. There's always something happening around the game, around the year. So to get another T20 tournament in, an under 23 tournament in, I don't know. I think where it is at the moment is fine. There's going to be a challenge coming, a challenge that a lot of you are going to determine the outcome of, which is next year it becomes an 84 game tournament. In 3 years from now it becomes a 94 game tournament. Are you going to be as excited by a longer tournament? That's really up to you. So the IPL already has a challenge coming up that, as I said, a lot of you are responsible for determining the outcome of. So let's see where that goes. And under 23, for many reasons, no. There's some very good players already at 2021, and let's be honest, how do you know everyone's under 23? And if under 23 becomes a lucrative tournament, more and more people will want to stay under 23 for a long time, as more and more people want to stay under 19 for a long time. So no, not a fan of that. Thank you very much for sending in all those questions. There were so many more that I'm actually going to say thank you first of all to my team who actually went through all those questions and picked the questions that were right. I asked for them to put in one more question as well. So thank you very much for so wholeheartedly participating. We'll do one another time, and hopefully you'll be as excited about asking questions, and I'll work on the answers, and I hope I can be honest and authentic in answering those for you. Cheers. Thank you.
So thank you for watching, and do subscribe to this channel.